In today's tutorial, let's work on the quick and easy blanket. Look at the textures on this blanket. Let's get started right after this. Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Today we're going to work on the quick and easy blanket just like you see in the picture here. And this is a really neat concept, and this concept is just a repeat of 4 rows once you get past that first row. So it just matters going on and on. So in this particular tutorial I'm only going to cover the main body of the blanket. The edging is pretty straightforward. You just got to follow along if you like to do this, but I'm going to concentrate more on the interior in this particular tutorial. You're going to need an N or a 10mm crochet hook today. It's asking for Bernat Chunky yarn, and there's 5 balls altogether that's required. These are bigger balls. They're 400 grams or 14 ounces, and there's a main color that you can see in the middle, and then the contrasting A would be the border. So let's get started. I'm gonna show you the chart that I made, or the diagram, and I'll show you that right now. So to help me teach this to you, I came up with the diagram that is matching the words for the main part, and you will see that there's the dots mean that they're slip stitching, and the T's are half double crochet. So those that are familiar with reading diagrams, you'll see that this makes sense. So there's a lot of slip stitching work, and you should know that you're going to be working with the back loops only once you get beyond the first row. Okay, so you're always gonna go in the back loops. That's what's giving that raised look. So in order to do this in other sizes, it's multiples of 10 plus 6. So if you wanted to change the size, you just go 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Is it big enough? Yes, no. If not, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, and then keep doing that until you get to the size that you want, and at the very end of your chain just add 6, and this will keep it in balance so that you have equal sides in balance, just like so. So there are 2 rows will have slip stitching on the sides just like you see, and then 2 rows will have half double crochet. Okay, so that's just a very easy thing to follow. So I'm gonna leave this chart on the crochetcrowd.com website for this particular video tutorial, and you can go over there and get this if you'd like to print this out, if this is helpful for you. So let's get started. I'm actually using Bernat Softee Chunky. It's not the same kind of yarn. It's kind of thick though, but you will go through a ton of these balls. So I would go with the Bernat Chunky yarn. Okay, so not the Softee Chunky, but the Bernat Chunky yarn. So let's start off. I'm going to do a swatch as you've seen in the diagram, and those are in multiples of 10. And you can follow the instructions if you wish on the pattern itself. If you're following the pattern exactly, it is 26, chain 26, but I'm gonna just deviate from that. So I'm gonna go 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 and 10. Look how far 10 goes. It's a big deal. So then you just keep going in multiples of 10 till you get to the size that you want. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 and 10. And then what you're going to do is once you get to the size that you need, so you keep going and going until you get to the size you need, and then at the end you're just gonna add 6 when you're satisfied. So 1 2 3 4 5 and 6, and that would be your first chain. And let's get started on row number 1. So let's begin row number 1. So you want to count to the second chain from the hook. So 1 and 2, turn it over and get the back hump of the stitch. Okay, and then yarn over, pull through that one and the original. That's a slip stitch. So that's 1. So the next 4 are also going to be slip stitching. Now if you looked at the diagram, everything was in groups of 5, if that helps you. So the next 4 are also going to be slip stitching. So 1 2 3 and 4. So with the first one that we did plus these 4, that gives you 5. So the next 5 stitches or chains that are in the next, we're gonna half double crochet. So you're gonna wrap the hook first, going into the chain, pull through, you have 3 loops left, pull through all 3. That's a half double crochet, and you wanna do 5 of those in a row as well. Okay, so that was 2 3 4 and 5. Okay, so that is the repeat pattern. So you got your slip stitches and then 5 half double crochets. So the next 5 are going to be slip stitches again. So just starting again, just going through and through. So in, and this will be number 2 and number 3, number 4 and number 5. Okay, so now you got those 5 done. Half double crochet for the next 5. And you keep working down the row just like that, just alternating between the 2. So this was 2, 3, 4 and 5. And now the next 5, okay, and it should be the final 5 anyway, should be 5 slip stitches. So in my case I'm coming to the end of the row. Your row will be obviously a lot longer, but there should be 5 stitches left over, or 5 chains left over at the end, so you can slip stitch the final 5 to keep it in balance, just like that. So this is what row number 1 looks like. So it goes up and down in waves. Let's move on to row number 2. So let's turn our work and go to row number 2. So rows number 2 to 5 are always going to be identical for this particular pattern. So now that the first row is done, we never think about that again, and the reason for it is that we're working in the chains, so the next instructions are always telling you to work in stitches. Now for the remainder of this pattern going up, we're always gonna work on the back loop only. So you'll see that stitches always have 2 strings. Okay, so you always see 2 when you go into a stitch. In this case it wants you to always go into a back loop for the remainder of this project, no matter what row you're on. So you're always going to go into the back one. So the first one is the front loop, the second one is the back loop, and together they make up a stitch. Okay, and this will give it the raised look that you have. So let's move on to row number 2. Row number 2, what I want you to do is put this string around the back and coming around from the other side. Okay, so just come around from the other side. It's just easier. Okay, trust me on that. Okay, so now that it's around the back, you're gonna go into the first stitch. So you notice I did not chain up one first, just immediately go into the back loop only, yarn over and pull through that one and the first one. That's a slip stitch. So that's 1 of 5. So you're gonna go into the next one, back loop only, slip stitch. This is 2. The next one is 3. The next one is 4, and the final one is 5, just like this. So here's the half double crochets. So we're gonna, on this particular row, the half double crochets are gonna sit on top of each other. So we wrap the hook and again into the back loop only for the next 5 half double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So you may want to count it just to keep yourselves organized. So then the next 5 are going to be slip stitches again keeping in the back loop. You will get used to the back loop in no time. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So now the next 5 are half double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And now the final 5, if you keep going all the way down, but the final 5 should be slip stitches as well in the final 5. Remember, back loop only. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 right into the very last one. So this would be how you would complete row number 2. So now look at it. It's kind of looking interesting, isn't it? So let's move along to row number 3. Let's turn our work and go to row number 3. So now the game plan for 3 and 4 is that the half double crochets are gonna sit in the valleys and we're gonna be doing the slip stitching on top. Okay, so there will be half double crochets in the valleys and slip stitching on the top. So to begin, we're going to chain 2. This does not count as a stitch. This is not like double crochet. This is more like a working stitch to get yourself higher, and you are going to want to go into the very first one that's right underneath it. Okay, and you want a half double crochet for this one plus the next 4. So 1, 2, this is 3, and 4. Okay, so I'm just making sure. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the next one is your final. So this is number 5. So then the next 5 are going to be slip stitches, and these are on top of the valleys this time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then the next 5 are half double crochets again. So we got 1, we have 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and the next ones are going to be slip stitches again for 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then the final 5 are half double crochets each. So there's gonna be 5. So 1, I'd probably recommend in this pattern that you do keep counts of 5. You may get tired of counting to 5, but I think for the look that it creates, it's amazing. And again, if you're ever sure, just count. So 1, 2, and I have the final one to go in. Okay, so this is row number 3. Let's move along to row number 4. Okay, let's do number 4 and turn our work. So number 4 is a repeat of what we've just done in row number 3. So we're gonna chain up 2. Remember, that does not count as a stitch or anything, or does not count as a post or anything. So we're gonna come immediately into the first one for half double crochet plus 4 more of the next. Okay, so this is 2, 3, 4, and there should be a total of 5 in a row. That includes that first one. Okay, so you can count it out as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the next 5 are going to be slip stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the next 5 are what? They're gonna be half double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then the next 5 are slip stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then the final are going to be half double crochets. So this is concluding row number 4, and we're gonna move on to row number 5 before the pattern repeats itself back to row number 2 once again. So we continue. The final 5 should be 1 half double crochet in each. Don't be confused with that one that you're chaining up with 5. That's just a builder. So you just want to make sure you're keeping them in groups of 5. Let's move on to row number 5 before the repeat pattern starts once again. So let's turn our work and go for row number 5. So this is what it's looking like. It's a double-sided pattern. Each side has the look, so it doesn't matter which side is up when it comes to placing on your sofa. So number 5, we're going to be going back to our roots and what we started over here. So we're gonna go back to narrow again before getting bigger. So on the tops of the valleys there's gonna be slip stitching, and on the bottoms of the valleys there's going to be the half double crochets. So let's begin. Remember what I told you before. Put the string onto the other side for the back side, before beginning this one, going in, you don't chain one at all, you just go into the same stitch, back post only or back loop only, and slip stitch. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the next 5 will be half double crochets. So the next 5, and these are in the valleys. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and so the next 5 are slip stitches again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, the next one is half double crochet for the next 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then the final ones, the 5, 5, or it's gonna be the final 5 of slip stitching. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So that would be concluding row number 5. So now you're just gonna automatically go back to row number 2. I'll get you started on that, but this is what it looks like. Isn't that neat? The picture doesn't like it really, the picture is amazing. So if you do this in lighter yarns, you can see the stitch work probably easier, but again, that's completely up to you. So let me start you off on row number 2, and then I'll leave you to do the rest of this project on your own. Let's turn our work and go back to row number 2 to get you started. So where we are right now is that we have the slip stitching here, and we have to do another slip stitching in order to keep it in balance. So this is row number 2. Again, put this yarn on the back side to start it. I just find it's easier going into the first back loop only, slip stitch for the first 5. So this is 2, 3, 4, and 5, and the next 5 are going to be half double crochets. So you already know what to do at this point. It's pretty straightforward. So this is 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you're just going to continue just like that, and you will see that the stitch work will be absolutely amazing, and it will turn out really cool in the long term. So you'll see this grow pretty quickly. It is the Bernat Chunky line, and good luck on your Afghan, and we'd love to see your photos being posted on Facebook. And until next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of the Crochet Crowd as well as yarnspirations.com. Have a great day, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye bye.